Horror Deconstruction.
Happy Halloween, everybody. It's the Horror Deconstruction. You can find us at horrordeconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/horror deconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Horror Deconstruction with your host, Comp, and
Boo Boo Basic Track.
today's film is
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch, you say? It's about a ha-rah-rah-rah-rah. It's a large Halloween mask-making company has plans to kill millions of children with something sinister hidden in the Halloween masks. Oh, I pronounced that wrong.
Oh my
Halloween.
god.
There you go.
Halloween.
Directed by Tommy Lee Wallace.
Mm-hmm.
Stars Tom Atkins. Oh boy, did I have a great joke, but I can't use it again. Stacey Nielkin.
He did have
Dan
a good
O'Hurley. I did. And it's produced by Halloween Helmer, John Carpenter, who is not a carpenter.
You know what? I feel like this version, because we already recorded this once and it got completely screwed up, I feel like we're getting way better show right now.
No, it's not.
No, it's horrible.
Because now I'm going to try to not to tell my old jokes again. I'm just going to put those old jokes at the end of this episode. So people will be like, wow,
Right.
who cares if they re-recorded
You
this?
could hear
Nobody
us
gives a shit.
sounding like we're in a cave with like multiple echoes and stuff.
So Halloween 3 is a film that is the much maligned sequel to the Halloween series where, originally had Michael Myers, and they kind of took a detour with this version of the films because John Carpenter wanted the Halloween series to actually be different types of films, but the sequel, which was Halloween 2, the demand of Michael Myers as I guess an antagonist was so popular they bring him back. So John Carpenter was like, fine, he'll take the money. He killed Michael Myers and he killed Laurie Strode in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, he decided he wanted to go follow it up with a new story, which I think was actually a pretty cool premise to
It would have been, but people just really like seeing a guy stab people.
Because it's like a repetitive kind of thing that people like to see. It's like Saw. You know how there's I think there were 7 Saw films?
Yeah.
And they were all the same,
Was it
over
7
and
or
over.
6?
I think there was 7. No, maybe it is 6. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I actually saw all those movies.
I did too, and you know
Oh
what?
my God.
They're not all
Did
that
you?
bad. I kind of thought, I went into it thinking they were going to be terrible, and I ended up thinking it was okay.
They're not horrible. They're all. You know what they were like?
I remember
watching
number 6
direct
was
to
the
DVD
best one.
films. They're like watching direct to DVD films on the big screen. That's what they were.
Right.
Because they were not they weren't the highest quality. The first one I thought was the highest quality, obviously.
The first one was great. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember. I forgot. I remember one of the sequels I liked a lot, but I don't know which one. I think it was Saw 4 or something like that. I think that's when Jigsaw was doing his taxes. That was a good one.
Okay.
But anyway, with the Halloween season, it's just like I was saying. Jason films, Friday the 13th. They kept repeating the same kind of all those films are basically people just want to see new ways people get killed.
Yeah, with
I
like
think
the
that's
same
what it is
scary
that
stuff.
people want to
But
see.
the difference between Halloween and Friday the 13th is that there's a lot more character stuff in Halloween, in my opinion. Although
Right, like, I
Friday
think
the 13th
we had
has a little
spoken-
bit.
We spoke about that in some sort of alternate dimension. We spoke about this before.
Yes.
Where things weren't recorded correctly. Where I think they had you and I spoke about how people can recognize the characters from the Halloween series as opposed to anything from Friday the 13th or
Right.
Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street.
Although
where
Nightmare on Elm Street has
Laurie-
some good character stuff too.
Yeah, but I mean they don't. Well, I guess you're right. Yeah, Nancy and
What's her
somebody
face?
else.
I can't think of her, but the one
guy
that
that can't
the one that
talk.
absorbs people's powers.
the guy that can't talk, the black guy that gets crushed by cars. All those characters, memorable characters
the
by
one,
name.
the one who turns
But-
into the Roach Motel. I love that.
Yeah, remember that guy that turns into a Nintendo game, but it was called like Schmintendo, so they couldn't get sued for it.
Right.
But anyway, but Halloween obviously had Laurie Strode, it had Dr. Loomis, and Michael Myers, and those were all 3 characters that are kind of integral to all the films. But John Carpenter kind of wanted to get rid of that, so he brought his friend in, I guess his longtime collaborator, Tommy Lee Wallace, to direct this feature.
Oh, Mr.
And
Wallace.
it was not accepted by a lot of people, and that's why it kind of went back to the Halloween franchise with Michael Myers,
Which
because
is
people were like,
I don't know. People are. I get it, but as I said
it's-
in the other time when we recorded this, it's like if you are not if you're totally expecting it to be the same thing and it's nothing
Right.
at all, then Yes, but
I could understand people getting upset, but I mean,
it is a good movie.
it is. I enjoyed this film, and it's the only other film I think that tried to do this was the Tales of the Crypts. Oops, I'm not making that joke. Tales from the Crypt feature films. They actually made 3 of them.
Bordello,
They made 3
Blood,
films of those. The
Demon
first
Knight.
one, which was
Demon
the
Knight.
first one was Demon Knight, which was great.
I love that.
Bordello of Blood I didn't like, and the third one was actually about like voodoos and zombies and stuff like that.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I know, because I think it actually was like, it was so bad that they never released it until like 5 years later when it was made, and people were saying it was racist because the way it portrayed black people and white people in wherever the voodoo land it was. But those films, that when you have a name for a film franchise and you keep changing the storyline, people just want to have continuation.
I mean,
That's the
it's like
problem
American Horror
Halloween 3
Story.
faced.
American Horror Story is a franchise, like, totally changes every
Yeah,
year.
but the thing with American Horror Story is they keep the same actors at least. So people have that sense of familiarity with it, and
You got
Halloween
the
2
you
there.
said it.
Yes, I learned English good, but with Halloween 3, it was a totally different premise, and people hate it. They think it's like the worst movie ever, which I don't think it is.
It's really not. If they took off the word Halloween and called it, like,
Just Season of the Witch.
Ron Atkins' Old Man Back, like, they would have a best-selling movie right there.
So this film starts out with a man delirious in fear, running with a pumpkin mask in his hand, and he's running away from these Men in Black type characters, who we later find out are called humanoids. And he's running away.
Is that what officially they're called?
Out.
Humanoids?
That's what the trivia says in IMDb. So they could be full of shit. Remember, a lot of those things are full of crap on IMDb.
Yeah.
I'll agree. It's easier than saying automatons.
I feel like
I
feel like Android.
Yeah, I think they're automatons. Yeah, I guess so. They're like cheap. The automatons, Android shit. I think Android's a little bit higher functioning, and they kind of have their own thoughts and stuff. All right, very good. So this old man goes crazy. He runs into a gas station owner who takes him to the hospital, and he says, with his last breath, he says, well, not really his last breath, but his last thoughts were, they're going to kill us. Because on the TV screen in the background is a commercial for Silver Shamrock, which is a novelties company. They create masks and toys, dealing around with Halloween. Yes. They got to use that song because it's basically the song from London Bridge is Falling Down, and they don't have those rights are like I think public domain, so they would use that and then.
Seriously, could you imagine like Clockwork Orange style, just like being taped to a chair with your eyes open and your ears having like funnels put into them, with that just blasting?
Oh my God. I actually didn't mind it, and we were talking about how John Carpenter semi-scored this film, because I think what they did was they just reused a lot of his music from Halloween 1, and they also used music from The Fog.
Yeah, there were little bits of the the Michael Myers theme in there, I heard.
Yeah, and then there's also, they show sequences from Halloween 1 in this film, which it always bothers me when you see, like, franchise movies, you see them in the sequels, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, because
they actually made it a movie. They made it seem like Halloween is a movie. And
that it would have been funnier if they just like actually reshot those scenes with new actors, like if they had made the story of Halloween real life and stuff like that. I was almost waiting for the last sequence when all the kids are trick or treating, like they were going to show Haddonfield too.
Okay.
Where was Haddonfield? Was that in Illinois or something, right?
I don't know.
Very good. So anyway, there's a Dr. Chalice, and if you remember, it's Tom Atkins, the actor. Hey, Danny, here's this joke. Tom Atkins actually created the Atkins diet. You never heard that one?
I have never heard. Oh my God, you are original.
He slipped and he fell on the ice and he died, but then he became alive again, and then he did Night of the Creeps. You never heard that joke before, right? Oh boy. I am so creative. So Tom Atkins, you can remember him from Night of the Creeps. You remember him in the fantastic movie, and I'm not saying this sarcastically, but I am, My Bloody Valentine 3D, which stars one of the guys from Supernatural sleepwalking through the movie. Mm-hmm. So Tom Atkins is in this movie. He's playing Dr. Daniel Chalice, and he's like a cool dude, a sex machine from the 80s.
He is like a total like pimp. He's awesome. He makes me proud of my mustache. Like, he's the kind of man that makes you want to grow a mustache.
Do you have a mustache again?
Oh, yeah. You haven't seen me in, like, a little bit. God. It's pretty furry right now.
And I don't plan to. So Tom Atkins is kind of this cool hip doctor. He just seems like I guess the sexy dad, even though to me as a man he's not very sexy at all. Listen, we thought those other guys in that
He's
last
got
movie
some
were very
moves. He's a
sexy.
smooth talker.
Yeah, he's a smooth dude.
He's
Like,
got a really nice back.
That I think he actually that's not his mustache. I think that's just all twat hairs on his top lip.
Right.
He gets a lot of strange.
It's
or
his
as
collection.
He calls it coos.
He's
He gets
got
a lot of
he's
that.
got the nurse. He's got the hot forensics nurse. He's got the older nurse. He's got that Ellie. He's got his ex-wife.
Yeah, because if this guy would have done this, like acted the way he did in this movie now, there would be like writing about him on Jezebel.com and Gawker. There'd be like photographs of him.
Right, sexual harassment and shit.
Oh, it'd be all over the news. He'd be in big trouble.
Put his arm
like,
around
famous,
the nurse.
They'd be like,
he's dead.
he grabs that one nurse's buttocks, and she's like, "Oh, what you doing, honey?" And then and that's a white woman. So anyway, he's Dr. Daniel Chalice, and he's kind of figuring out he's a bit disturbed by this guy because he goes to sleep, and then a man in black or an automaton or a cyborg android comes in, very nicely kept hair, comes in, walks in, and what does he proceed to do?
He readjusts his nose.
Oh yes, he gives that guy such a nose job that the guy wouldn't even know.
He gives him a sexy rhinoplasty.
Oh yeah, he crushes the guy's face, and I was very disturbed that they didn't have really blood in this scene. It was just kind of like Bosco chocolate coming out of the guy's face. Like, I mean, you crush somebody's face, you would think blood comes out, and
right.
there's a healthy amount of blood
maybe,
that does come out later in
maybe
one
he
sequence.
squeezed so hard that the blood went through a chemical process and became chocolate.
He like when you crush like rocks and it turns into diamonds. He turns the guy's
right.
Into
The
Bosco
pressure.
chocolate sauce.
When you apply pressure to blood, it becomes chocolate.
Yeah, it seemed very disturbing. It seemed like it seems like that was the only prop they forgot when they shot that sequence.
Right.
They were like, Tommy Lee Wallace is like, "Where's the fucking blood?" Oh,
They spent it all on that girl with the laser beam to the face.
That's true. They spent all that in that mask. So they crushed the dad's face. Dr. Chalice runs after this weirdo in a suit, and the guy proceeds to burn himself in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And he, later on we find out that all that's left are like gears and plastic shit. I would think if you see the guy's body in the car, I mean, how much would he have to burn? I guess he had it to burn for a while, right?
Yeah.
For him to just become piles of like metal and stuff. But whatever. Dr. Chilton's very disturbed. He finds Ellie Grimbridge. Wow, what a dumb last name. Or cool, if you like Harry Potter.
I do.
She's played by Stacey Nelkin, and that's her father who's passed on, and she's very,
She gets
disturbed
over
by
in
what
about
happened.
10 minutes and then is having sex with this complete stranger.
She gets what they call a deep dickin'. He knows how to swirl and get up in them guts, as the urban kids say. And she actually hooks up with Daniel because she wants to know what happened to her father. She's like, I'm kind
He
of
could
disturbed.
be her father, though. That's the thing that's disturbing.
And the thing is, Daniel he has to go hang out with his kids because his wife wants to get some big black cock somewhere else. I'm just speculating. And she, he throws his wife off. He's like his ex-wife. He's like he doesn't want to hang out with his kids. He wants to bang some new.
Can you blame him?
Smiz.
I mean, she's cute.
No.
You know who she looked
cute.
like? I can't think actually who she looked like, but I remember thinking she looked like
Janet
someone.
from Three's Company, maybe.
No, she reminded me of the girl from Saved by the Bell who goes into Showgirls or something.
Yeah, I could see that. Oh, yeah, the one that took diet pills and went crazy in that show. I remember what you're talking about. Starts with an E, but I can't think of her name.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, wow, that Showgirls was a bad movie.
Zach. Yeah, the guy,
Yeah,
the
Zach
guy who
was
plays
the girl's
Zach.
name. Yeah, okay. So anyway, so she hooks up with him, and he disregards his family.
Mario
and
Lopez.
He goes to hang out with her. And they literally hook up the first day, don't they?
They go
by boat.
It's like a big elaborate scheme to get laid. They go to the hotel and, they have to pretend they're husband and wife for some unknown reason. And then, he asks, "Where should I sleep?" And they have sex.
No, she asks him, "Where do you sleep?" And he goes, "That's a dumb question."
Right.
Then he pulls his big sausage out and he hits her right over her head.
They took that part out. It's only in deleted scenes.
He fucks her, and the automatons look through the window and they're jerking off, and then you see like gear bits falling out of their ears.
He has one of those like little the clove medallions from all the masks, like in his ball sack. So like whenever he comes, he shoots out like a blue laser. And like it zaps her in the face, and like instead of like dribbling cum out of her mouth, she dribbles out like snakes.
And then he's like, yeah, and while he's ejaculating, there's snakes and spiders coming out of his ears and mouth. It's very entertaining. And then right outside the window, the rest of the robots show up because they know this. They found out that something's going on. And
They're all like squirting out their orange juice bukkake.
Yeah, and it looks like the video for Herbie Hancock's breakdancing song. Doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. Like one of the robots split in half, and it's just his legs dancing. Anyway, this might be a better episode. So anyway, we also find out what did the news report happen to Stonehenge?
I don't think they did.
What? What the hell are you talking about? Anyway, so we find out that one of the stones from Stonehenge is missing.
Oh, did they actually acknowledge it on the news? I thought it was like...
Did you not talk?
I guess
I made that up?
No, I actually... When he said that he stole Stonehenge, I was like, how did nobody notice that he stole Stonehenge? I didn't realize I didn't realize they acknowledged
there's a news report that shows that one an orb or something, not an orb, something got stolen from Stonehenge. I guess one of the stones, because they say it weighed 3,000 pounds, and Danny and I had spoken about how did they steal it, and we were just guessing those robots must have stolen it.
We were guessing that they took it on their backs or something.
Yeah. They found a really large hill and slid down it back to Northern California.
Oh no, you were saying they surfed, and then you were singing the Beach Boys.
Yeah, they had Beach Boys in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So, that part is missing. We find out later that the actual villains of the film, Cochran, who runs Silver Shamrock, is using this large stone, and he's taking parts of, I guess he's shaving it down and putting some of the
magical dust properties into his little medallions.
And the reason why they're doing this is because he wants to have a massive sacrifice for Sam Hain, which is kind of a goofy premise to, like, it seems like a pretty big jump for a man who's been making novelty toys his whole life.
I guess when you're around that many little kids, you just want to go crazy and kill people.
I guess, because he's like, oh, it's the ultimate prank on the children. And I was like, okay, well...
I guess that guy always plays villains, because he was a villain in Twin Peaks, and isn't he a villain in RoboCop? Or am I completely wrong?
No. I said he's a good white old bad guy, just like Ronnie Cox. Ronnie Cox was the bad guy in RoboCop and Minority Report.
Oh, okay.
Not the great one with Colin Farrell. That's a great one. That's way better.
Yeah, right.
Really good.
I just wanted to be on record. I wanted to be on record that I disagree with that statement.
But anyway, so what we're finding out, the way that the film is paced, it's more of like a mystery, a grand mystery that we just spoiled for you. But I like the pacing of the film because it's Daniel and he's a no nonsense kind of guy, and I think the characters actually make smart decisions in the film. As his doctor character, like they're just looking to find out what's happening. And, like, within a half an hour, when they start seeing weird shit going on, they're like, let's get out of here. But that's when it's too late, because then that's,
And I like how it's kind of like a realistic, like, if this ridiculous thing were to happen, it wouldn't end good. It would end like how it ended.
Right. Because they have that whole town that's in on it kind of premise. Even though the town I don't think really is in on it. I think the town is kind of like they don't give a shit that they just find that they
know something's going on and they don't
question it.
Yeah.
Because there's cameras everywhere and these guys in suits, they like to stand in the darkness and not look totally out of place. They just you can walk. I just like the part where the two of them are walking out of the Shamrock place and you see the robot standing in darkness, like like wouldn't you think that's the tiny creepiest kind of thing in the world?
And why would they keep the car there? Actually, they wouldn't keep the car. They would get rid of it.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Because that's the reason why Ellie finds out that there's something really going on when her father's car is still inside one of the compartments over there. and they like barely covered it. It's just like there. It's like what the fuck's going on? Like why would you even have it there? Like what was in the car? We never really find out what the father knew.
Right.
I assume I guess he must have ran from there.
I mean, he might not have known much because like apparently this guy will just kill anybody who like slightly investigates anything.
Right. So I mean, it was obvious that the father saw something and ran out of there. Maybe he saw like one of the testing things that they did, because they later test on their biggest seller. Then I was like, why would they do that? Then I realized, like, oh, they don't give a shit. They're just trying to kill millions of people. So why not start with Buddy and Betty Kupfer and their little asshole son, Little Buddy, who has like a pretty
he deserved to die, but I felt bad for the dad.
Yeah, he was a nice guy, and you get bit by a snake in reverse video. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that one really bad reverse video, like Night of the Creeps bad, where the snake was obviously biting on him first, and then they just reversed the video so his feet are moving backwards.
Right.
So it was totally realistic. Anyway, but speaking of the brutality of the film with the violence, there's pretty graphic violence in this film, even though it's kind of toned down from, I don't know how...
spread out.
Like, yeah, I don't know how graphic the violence is in the other Halloween films. Like, I've only seen, like, really Halloween 1 and Halloween 8 or some shit like that. And it doesn't seem like they're really graphic when he kills people.
It's like...
Or am I just...
It's like well-used violence. It's not... There's, like, a point to it, you know?
Because the violence in here, it's like a guy, like, when he's smashing the guy's face in the beginning, it's not, like, hugely bloody, but it's, like, disturbing because, you know, the guy's face will turn into an obviously, cringe. Like, you know, when they crack the guy's face, or when they tear off a bum's head, and he's just, like, falling, and the two robots are staring at each other, and, like, a geyser of blood is shooting in their face. I thought they were going to start kissing or something, like a rain sequence or something. And then the most graphic one, to me at least, is Marge's death, who was a woman who owns it's probably the...
Oh, yeah, when she gets zapped in the
running
face,
with the other... It's not actually... The most graphic is obviously the guy getting his head ripped off, but Marge's is disturbing to me the most, because I remember watching that a long time ago before I even fully saw the film, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, it really bothered me, because she finds one of the silver shamrock medallions that are on the back of the mask, and she's trying to fidget with it. I don't know why. Right. She's trying to screw around with, like, it didn't look like she had something that was big enough to, like, open it. I guess that's what she was trying to do, and it zaps her right in the mouth. And her face,
she had
like,
such a pretty mouth.
Her mouth just, like, it looks like it's ripped off or burnt off, you know, like a lightsaber or something.
And apparently she was still alive or something?
Yeah, she was still alive because she was, like, fidgeting, and then a spider came out of her mouth and went to her hair. I was like, who the fuck is... Or some kind of hairy bug. And it was just disturbing looking. Right. And that's when, you know... That's when Daniel and Ellie's, like, bullshit detector starts to raise, because the Silver Shamrock people come in and take her body out. And it was so funny because they take her out.
I would want to be like that guy. He's kind of like the man, you know? He's got... He built all his own little... Yeah, He built his own little team of friends. He creates things that are going to make spiders and snakes come out of children's heads. I mean, that guy's awesome.
You think he fucked that old grandma robot that was in the room?
Yeah. You saw the programming on her hands? Just imagine if it wasn't a knitting needle.
He used to have her put one knitting needle up his ass and then the other one inside of his penis hole. Right. And he'd be like, oh, yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
And then he'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's what the cat brought home." And then he starts doing the fucking Charleston or something.
What was the significance of them being Irish?
Was it like because of the Stonehenge stuff? That's why he probably believed that shit.
Oh, okay.
Did they make that? Did they say anything about being Irish? I didn't notice that.
He's Irish, yeah, and it's a fucking lucky, you know, it's the thing of the symbol.
Silver Shamrock. All right, fair enough. Yeah, and so anyway, the whole purpose is that he's a crazy person and he wants to make everything. I don't know what he's doing. Like I don't know what's the point.
We'll never understand, because he vanished with a big smile on his face.
Yeah, he was a white man that turned even whiter when the laser from whatever witch shot him through.
And then he vanished. He didn't even
and he disappeared.
Disintegrate. He vanished.
He went to white heaven. Like they can tell rude jokes about ethnic minorities there.
Do Irish people do that, though? Are they really in the place to be doing that?
No, he's like he went to like a white person's heaven where now he's there and he has like they're playing golf forever,
Hmm.
and then he doesn't have to look left and right before he says something racist.
He has the power that he no longer needs the medallions. He just has the power to make snakes burst out of anyone's head that he doesn't like.
There's a big golden throne that says Kramer on it,
Hmm.
so they're just waiting for Michael Richards to die and go up there. Anyway, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of things there. I mean, the idea of automatons and robots, it's pretty far fetched because this is like it's an over stylized sort of film, but it's not over stylized in I'm not on. I think I used the wrong phrase. It's more like there's a high bullshit level,
Yeah.
but it's kind of played realistically. Sort of. I mean,
Yeah,
robots.
I mean, if
not
that
really.
story was possible, I thought they handled it very well. But the story is
Yeah,
kind of
like-
weak, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this film because it felt it took itself seriously, but it wasn't like it's like the greatest movie ever. It's like, oh, we're so genius. But it took itself seriously. It wasn't like winking and stuff like that at the camera. It was like it was trying to tell a seriously horror movie. Like this is something that I would figure would be like a good part of Creepshow. Like one of those good Creepshow
Right.
storylines. It's like one of those cool like horror comic book storylines because it's just disturbing, and you think like the hero wins at the end because he does some. They were not very well organized. That's what happens when you have like you can have robots and you can send them to kick people's asses, but they're not
Right.
very good at watching shit for some reason.
No, not at all.
Because at the very end, he comes in and the doctor comes in and just throws all those chips at everybody. and they
How did
get
he know that was
electrocuted
going to
to death.
happen?
Well, I mean, he just saw the video of the
No,
kid getting
but
his head
how
exploded.
did he know to push those exact keys on that giant
Oh, because
board?
it's a movie. It's bullshit. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Unless there was a huge button that says, "Hey," unless did he?
He
maybe
put
he
no,
was
he pushed
watching?
like yeah, okay, but there's like 500 buttons on that thing, and there's like
That's true.
100 machines. How did he know to
There
push
was
that exact one?
There was a whole 10-minute sequence where they cut out where he was guessing, and he did it 55 times before he actually got it right.
Right, and he had to keep
Yeah,
ducking
the other-
every time someone would look in his direction.
The other time, like it'll cut to a camera on the fucking Statue of Liberty, and her dress falls off. It was just like really comical. Then they're like, "No, we should take this more seriously."
Yeah.
But the script originally was written by a different guy, and he wrote it actually more comically. It's funny, but they decided to make it darker, and he was so pissed off he took his name off the script. But I'm sure Timely Wallace and John Carpenter did so many changes that they were like, whatever. I guess we pretty much do own this film.
Right.
And Deborah Hill, who I think is who the hell's Deborah Hill? Deborah Hill is, I
don't
guess.
know.
Either she was married to John Carpenter or something. She had something to do with John Carpenter. I'm sorry that I don't know who the fuck she is, but she's the one that actually chose said that they should pick Tom Atkins. So I guess he was
really?
some sort of bizarre sex symbol back then, because we do see him nude in the movie.
Right.
I can tell you that he has a Hank Hill kind of ass, the small tiny white man butt, and he was pumping them puss back then. Good for him.
He was really doing it.
He was giving it to them
He was
hard.
giving
But
it raw.
what are things? What do you think that they could have? What do you think they could have fixed with the film?
I mean, they could have explained the entire point of the movie in more than 10 seconds.
That is true, because it's about an hour and 40 minutes. No, an hour and like 20 minutes, and then the bad guy ties Tom Atkins' character into a chair. Then he's like, "Well, the seas were red, and the feet were blue. The animals were dead." And I was like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" It sounds like what he says there sounds good. Like if you put it at the beginning of a metal song, and it just starts like you just hear the guitar riff start playing.
Right.
But then, like, I don't know what he's talking about, because he doesn't really say why he does it. He's like, "I want to play the trick on the kids," and they're like, "Okay, but like, what changed you so much that you all of a sudden care about wizards and witches and shit that makes you want to kill kids? Like, well, what's the point?" You know what I mean? I mean that part, like, I actually I had like a carefree thought about the film. Like, I liked.
He
it,
just
but then
got tired
when
of
he
that guy,
started bringing up how stupid it was-
like people like that guy Buddy. It just bothered him too much. They were too happy.
Yeah, he was like, "Fuck them all." But yeah, it's an interesting film, especially what happens to the girlfriend in the movie. Ellie like turns into a robot. I assume she just was like completely replaced, because there's a part where he fucks her up with the car.
Oh, this is the
her
point
arm
where I
off,
make
and
my
she's
joke
just-
about Mike Myers making it a fembot.
Oh yeah, that was a good one too.
That was a good
Hey,
one.
why don't you say that joke again?
Mike Myers did make an appearance in the movie, and he made a fembot out of Ellie.
That's pretty. You see, guys, that's great stuff. So she turns to a robot. That's a pretty comical sequence where she just keeps coming back and forth, and people actually were wondering why they actually had to explain the effect of her head on the floor as it's looking around while her body's there, and I'm like, her head's in the she's under like the ground, and her head's sticking through the floor. Like, did you think they really cut her head off and put her on the? Okay, people are stupid assholes. Anyway, I like the film. I thought it was pretty good. I think it's up there with the other Halloween films. Not because people can be like, "Oh, blasphemous!" It's not as good as Halloween H2O.
It has nothing to do with the other Halloween films, but it is a good movie on its own.
Yeah, if it was just called Season of the Witch, I think people would probably regard it much more better because it is very John Carpenter-esque. It's it's very stylized in a sense that it's shot almost like a John Carpenter film because it's very matter of factly. It's like just. It's interested in telling the story. It has pretty cool comic book, visuals, as in like it's framed like a storyboard, and it's just telling a film. It's handled seriously. It's not creative where the cameras are doing weird kind of French shots or anything like that. But it's a good film. We
don't need their freedom shots.
Okay, very good. So, what rating would you give this one, Danny?
I gave it an 8.5. What was my rating? 8.5. Tom Atkins considering the possibility of having sex with the headless fembot Ellie to see if it feels the same as the real Ellie.
I will give it an 8 out of 10. Being an older African American gentleman that works at a gas station who brings in a crazed old man who's dying and saying, "You do good for some people, and sometimes they'll do good for you." And then when you see him getting sick and crazy again and yelling they're going to get murdered, you start to shuffle off very quickly out the exit door.
Very good.
That, Danny, what's the final word?
Enter.
The horror deconstruction.